in the future, we see blood spraying all around the ground into the snow. We then see it pan up to see a bloody wood chipper. We then see across from it Miles covered in blood. As we then see next to him Matthew covered in blood. As we then see Dave is covered in blood as he looks angry. As we then see a Ziltrumite soldier walks up to him. As he looks at the bloody ground. As he then looks up to this soldier and stares them down and says, You said you'd help us. As we see, the soldier is Kezia. As Dave stares her down and gives her a death stare. We see two other soldiers standing outside. As we then see one lights a cigarette. As we then hear, the alarm goes off. We then see the shadow of a man coming up behind each of them. As we see Matthew with a full mouth of blood. As he comes up behind both of them. As he then puts one in a chokehold and snaps his neck, killing the soldier. The other one tries to aim their gun at them, but then he takes the other soldier's gun and shoots them in the head. As they then fall, we then hear people screaming, "Now we take Ziltrumite!" We hear the alarm going off, as we then see Dave and the rest of our group running in the crowd of prisoners. We see more soldiers are alerted due to the alarm. As we see a few soldiers running in, as Ashley breaks a pipe off a wall and bashes one of the soldiers' heads in, as she then grabs their gun and then fires and kills 3 more running in. Dave then takes one gun, Matthew takes another, and Sydney takes the other one as well. As we see one part of the prisoners go into an elevator and they move up. Dave stops the rest of our group seeing this as he says, "Wait, let them go up first. The soldiers will waste ammo on them. It'll be easier for us to get away." Sydney looks thrown off and says, "But Dave, they'll die." Dave looks at her with a cold look in his eyes and says, "Yeah, it's called sacrificing some so the rest can get away. It's the way life works, Sydney. Besides, better them than us." Ashley hears this briefly as she looks slightly bothered by it. As she says, "There's more coming. Come on, let's go." They then hear the sound of prisoners outside getting shot and killed. As Dave and the others hear this, as the elevator comes back down. Dave says, "They got guns, and we have some of theirs. So let's see who wastes more bullets, them or us. Let's go." We see the rest of the prisoners, including our group, going up this elevator. Ashley then says, "Was this your plan?" Dave says, "Hell no, it wasn't my plan. Now take a listen to that sound of death out there. This was my peaceful approach." We then see the elevator make it to the top. The prisoners run for the door as one of them says, "We push and we run." Dave says, "You get that door open and we light them up." The guy says, "Some will have to be sacrificed." Dave says, "Sacrificing some so the rest can live. I don't see it any other way. Now push!" As they all pile up against the doors, as Dave says to Rose, "Get behind me. You don't stop until we're over that fence, you understand?" Rose says she does, as we hear the prisoners saying, "Now we take Ziltrumite! Now we take Ziltrumite!" The door starts opening as the prisoners in the front open the door. Over 10 prisoners in the front get shot down and killed. The rest then run. Matthew, Ashley, and Sydney fire back at some of the soldiers that are up high. They give the rest of the group a few seconds to run as they cover them. The soldiers fire back as Sydney gets shot in the arm. Matthew then helps her up before the soldiers are able to get her again. Tom Rivers, Rob Arlo, Blake, Marissa, and a few other ones run away. As Dave and the others try to run, as the soldiers fire back, Dave and the rest of the prisoners get up behind a train car as they push it across the tracks, keeping cover while the soldiers fire at them. Miles says, "We can't outrun them, boss. They're gonna be on that exit 24/7 now. We need another solution." Dave says, "Let's keep pushing, come on!" We see the soldiers firing down at them from the towers as we see Matthew takes a grenade off of the dead soldier as he takes it and throws it towards the tower. The tower blows up as the soldiers get killed. As Dave and the rest make a run for it, Liam then says, "We don't stop! We never stop! Come on!" Rob says, "There!" They run past a bunch of dead prisoners that have been killed as they run into one of the buildings. As they run in, and Rob says, "There! We gotta get that door open. That's the armory." Ashley says, "And how do you know all this?" Rob says, "They brought me here to do some repairs a few months ago. Let's just say the door to this room was open, and I saw the whole goddamn arsenal in there." Liam says, "I got this." Liam kicks the door down as Dave, Miles, Matthew, Julia, Bruce, Ashley, Sydney, Colin, Rebecca, and Tegan all grab guns as Dave says, "Come on, we gotta do this. How far is the fence from here?" Rob says, "2 buildings down. Though with these..." He grabs some grenades and says, "We don't have to go over the gate. We're gonna go through it." They all run out to the roof as soldiers then see them come out as they fire towards them. Dave stands in front of Rose, Natalie, and the other kids as Miles and Ashley fire back. Rob then throws a grenade down to the soldiers and blows them up. Miles says, "Everyone start climbing, come on!" As we see Miles and Rob cover the crowd as the rest of them start climbing down the ladder of this building. We then see Liam climb down, but then, out of nowhere, Liam gets shot in the arm. Ashley screams out, "Liam!" Liam falls off the ladder as Kai, one of the prisoners, runs and helps him up. Dave looks at Rob and says, "We go for the gate, come on!" Rob says, "You all go. I'm gonna find Tom and the rest." Dave says, All right, be safe. Come on." Kai and Ashley help Liam as we see Kai is bleeding from his arm as he continues to help Liam as they all make a run for it. Tom Rivers, Rob Arlo, Blake, Marissa, and a few others are running through the camp. We see soldiers start firing at them as they all back up against the wall. Tom and Rivers pick up guns from the dead soldiers as Tom says, "All right, River Pond, you cover the rest." He pulls out a grenade and says, "I'm gonna blow this cocksucker wide the fuck open." Rivers fires at the soldiers as she kills all 3 of them, firing at the group, as Arlo says, "All right, Tom, go!" Arlo picks up a gun as more soldiers are on the way. Tom then throws a grenade as it blows the gate wide open. Blake then says, "Run, run, run!" We see them all running out of there as we see Tom's group has made it out. Tom looks back and looks worried and says, "Julia, We gotta find... River says, it's all right, we'll find them. We stay here, we die. Dave will keep her safe. Now, come on. Rivers pulls him away as they flee from the prison, as they run away from the storm to get away from Ziltrumite. Back with Dave and the rest. We see Dave and the rest are running through the camp. Tegan and Colin fire at the soldiers, shooting at them. As Tegan nails a few of them, but then Colin gets shot in the chest as Rebecca covers for him, as she shoots one of the soldiers as they go down. The group then runs into a building, as we then see as they get inside. Liam is hurt. Kai and Colin are injured, as Dave then says, all right, okay, the gate is right outside. We go, and we go quick. As Sydney then looks over and says, holy shit. I haven't seen one of these since the DEA days. Dave says, this thing run? Colin says, well, let's see. Colin gets into the driver's seat and starts it up. And Rebecca then says, Colin, are you good to... He says, I'm fine. All right, everyone get in. Come on. As we see two motorcycles are parked to the side, as Matthew says, all right, I'm taking one. Dave says, I got the other one. Matthew kind of laughs at this and says, Millie, you one crazy motherfucker, eh? As we see Colin put his foot on the gas, as he then forwards it, as he then drives out, as we see several soldiers shooting at them, as we see Ziltrumite helicopters flying above, as they fire down at them, Colin drives through the gate as they drive out of the camp and flee the Ziltrumite camp. We see Dave on the bike, Matthew on another one, as we see the rest of the group in this armored truck, as we see three Ziltrumite helicopters flying up above them. Matthew then looks behind him, as we then see three Ziltrumite trucks are coming up behind them as they fire towards Colin and the truck. We see one of the trucks drives up next to Dave and tries to run him off the road, as he then jumps off the bike onto the back of the truck. Matthew gets up close and jumps on as well, as Dave drives and Matthew gets on the turret. As he fires at these vehicles and choppers, as one of the choppers gets shot down, Matthew then says, keep it steady, Miller! Dave says, I'm trying! As he fires and shoots another one down, Tegan then sees there's one more chopper, as she then sees explosives in the back. As she grabs a few and says, we're going to get him off our trail. She opens up the back door as she throws one of the explosives and it misses. She tries again, but then the last helicopter gets blown up as she threw one again, as she says, all right, Colin, get us the fuck out of here. As we see them drive far away to get away from the Ziltrumite military. As the hours pass by, we see Dave and Matthew driving, as we see the truck is slowing down, as Colin says, shit, we're out. Rebecca says, all right, pull into the woods there. We need to hide the trucks as much as possible so they can't find us. Miles says, all right, let's do it. They all grab as much bush as they possibly can and tree pieces as possible to cover up the truck. As we see the wind is starting to pick up, Dave says, all right, we got to go somewhere where they won't find us. We got to find Tom and find the others and get the fuck out of the area. Miles says, we're following you, boss. Let's go. Back at the Ziltrumite work camp, we see a bunch of Ziltrumite soldiers that get out of some trucks, as we see one of them says, Officer Taylor, We see Kezia runs out as we see her and several soldiers pointing guns at some prisoners that stayed back that didn't get away. We see one of the Ziltrumite soldiers says, "Everyone down with your hands on your head, now! Which one of you did this? Which one?" Kezia loads her gun and the guy says, "Miller! Miller! They call him Miller. He orchestrated this whole thing, I swear to God. We didn't have anything to do with this. He and his people escaped with some families. But I didn't do anything, I swear to you, I didn't." Kezia removes the gun from the prisoner as she then says, "Get them inside. I'll handle this." Fucking Miller. Several miles away from the camp, we see Dave, Miles, and the rest of our group walking through the mountains as we see Rose and some of the families look cold as Matthew walks up to Dave and says, "We can't keep running, man. We gotta find somewhere to hide out, at least for the time being. Some of these folks won't make it another 5 miles. Dave sees how hurt Colin, Liam, and Kai all are as he says, "Okay, a few minutes. Maybe it'll give us a bit of a chance to find Tom and the others." But then, we see a Ziltrumite helicopter flying over them from up high. As Dave and the group see this, as Dave says, "Get down!" They all go down as everyone looks terrified as the helicopter flies over the tree. Dave then sees a cave, as Ashley says, "They're gonna find us." Dave says, No, they won't. Follow me." Back with Tom and the others. We see Tom and the others walking through the woods as Tom says, "They must have gotten out. They must have." River says, "Hey, they'll find us, okay? They will. Right now, we gotta keep moving, okay, honey bun?" Tom says, I know. I'm just... Fuck. I just got you back. I can't lose." Rivers holds him and says, "Hey, you won't, okay? We're gonna be fine. Hell, maybe when this is over, maybe we can even have a new manland again." Tom says, Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?" Arlo then looks panicked and says, "We got company." As we see Arlo standing in front of the little ones, as Tom pulls out his big knife and says, "Who's there?" We see someone coming out of the woods. As we see, it's Rob. Tom says, "Holy shit. You scared me, motherfucker." Rob says, "Listen, I don't have much time to explain, but the soldiers, they're coming. We all gotta move now. Find the rest of our people and get the fuck out of the area now. Come on, let's go." As Tom and the rest of the group listen to Rob and keep moving. Back with Dave's group. We see everyone hiding out in the caves, trying to stay out of sight. We see Rebecca says to Colin, "I hate to admit it, but you were right, sir." Colin says, "About what?" Rebecca says, "Ziltrumite. After what we went through, after what they were going to make us continue to go through, and what they did to those families trying to get away, I got my answer." Dave says, "We all did. But I'm sorry for making you all do all this. This was my plan. This was my prison break. And I got people killed." Miles says, "We knew the risk, boss. It was either that or living our lives in pure chaos." Dave says, "Life is always chaos, Miles, but the one thing you can control is how it affects you." We see Dave walks over to Liam and Kai, who are hurt, and says, "How's the pain? You both don't look so good." Liam says, "Well, I don't know about him, but I've never been better. Getting out of there was all I ever wanted. I didn't want to die a slave to the group that killed my family. And now I can rest." Dave says, "We're not resting. We're getting out of here. All of us, together. I chose everybody for this plan because everyone is going to get out.
and I'm not changing those plans.
Liam says,
Look at me, man. I'm done. And those soldiers aren't far. And in my condition, you won't even get half as far as you would without me. You know what you have to do.
We hear a bang as it startles them, as we see it was just a big icicle that fell from the top. Dave looks relieved and looks back at Liam and says,
What are you trying to say here?
Liam says,
You did more than enough for me. But it's time. It's time you leave me behind.
Kai says,
Me too.
Colin says,
I'm with them, Dave. We're gonna slow you down. And we already are slowing you down. And we'll get you caught.
Ashley says, No one is leaving anyone behind. Look, we all became a found family at one point or another. Liam, Kai, Colin, you were all part of that.
And that is not what we do.
Dave looks over at Tegan. He then looks back at Liam and Kai and says,
No.
As Dave remembers. Dave wakes up in the crashed truck. His leg looks a bit messed up and he's got a few bruises. We can hear the Vipers are on their way back. He is rushing to get out of the truck, but as he's escaping, we see that everyone in the truck is dead. But only one of his men is still alive and looks to be hurt. Dave is trying to hurry and escape, but he notices his last soldier begging for help. Please help me, boss. Help me. Dave is trying to get him out, and he's about to get him. Dave is about to try to get him out of there, but he hears the Vipers are coming, and Dave looks at him with a cold look in his eye and says, Why would I save you? You're my ticket out. And Dave leaves him and runs into the woods before the Vipers get down there. And we see Dave running into the woods and he quickly tries to get away. And we hear his man yelling from far, You rot in hell, you fucking prick! He looks at Liam, Colin, and Kai and says,
I don't leave people behind. Not anymore. If we all die, at least we die together. Otherwise, we're no better than them.
As Dave helps them up, as Miles then says,
Lead the way, Mr. Miller.
Back with Tom and the others. We see them running through the woods as we then see a Ziltrumite helicopter parked on its own. As Tom says,
Wait, this could be a trap.
Rob says,
It probably is. But if it isn't, that's our way out of here.
River says, I mean, Mr. Johnson here has a point. We're not making it out of here in these conditions. It's worth a try. Arlo says,
I'll fly.
Tom says, hang on now. Do you actually know how to fly one of these things? And Arlo says, as a matter of fact, I do. A long time ago, I used to be in the air marshal. I practically lived up there in the sky. Yeah, I can do it, my friend. He pats Tom on the shoulder and Tom says, all right, Arlo, you get in and try the bastard. If there's trouble, we'll cover you. Back with Dave's group. We see them moving through the woods, barely hanging on, as we hear a massive crowd of deadheads crawling out of the snow. One growls at them as Dave says, Run! Run! Everyone runs as we see Colin falls and Rebecca helps him up. Liam then falls down a huge hill as Miles sees this, but then Miles gets tackled by two deadheads. Dave and the others are running as he sees Miles and some of the others aren't there. They try to turn back for them, but there's more deadheads running after them as they have no other choice but to run. Back with Tom's group, we see Arlo trying to start it up as we see the propellers are spinning as River says, damn, you're good. Arlo says, yeah, I've been flying so much in my younger years, I guess you never forget that shit. Tom, Rob, we're ready. as we see everyone gets on, and Arlo says, "Here we go!" as the helicopter lifts up and flies out into the sky. Back with Dave and the others. We see Dave as he trips a deadhead coming up to him, as he stabs them as he yells, "Where's Miles? Liam!" We see Miles is trying to keep the dead off of him, as we see they're trying to bite him as Miles is about to get bit. Out of nowhere, Ashley kills both of them as he says, "Oh, thank God." Ashley says, "You okay? Where's Liam?" We see Liam running as fast as he can. As he is limping, we see him fall as the dead are running towards him, as he smiles and accepts his fate. Back with Tom's group, we see Tom looking out the window of the chopper as he says, "This storm isn't going to make this easy." Arlo says, well, we go until we can. We got to keep moving further and further away from these people and this place, especially with these families with us." As Blake says, "I'm just glad we got out of there." Tom says, "Well, don't get used to it. I'm getting my daughter back, one way or another. So until then, we are not done here." Back with Dave and the others. We see Dave in front of the group as he kills another deadhead. Ashley says, "We gotta get somewhere safe. We can't keep running." "Dave?" Dave looks up to see a Ziltrumite helicopter flying overhead. As Dave then takes a closer look at it, he sees the driver is waving them down as Dave smiles and says, "God damn, you did it, Johnson." Ashley looks happy and says, "Is that them?" Dave says, "We're getting out of here." They all run towards this helicopter as we see it land. They run up towards it as Dave then walks up to the door and opens it, but then we see Liam in Ziltrumite armor, fully armed. He pulls out a gun and shoots Dave in the chest. Dave falls back as everyone looks shocked. Miles pulls his sword on Liam as he runs up to him, as Liam then stabs Miles in the right eye with a knife as Miles goes down. Ashley screams out for Miles as we see from Dave's point of view as he is on the ground, shot and bleeding, as he sees Liam walking up to Lavox as he says, "You did your duties. You are no longer required, Lavox. Hand over your armor." Lavox says, Do you need anything else from me?" Liam says, "Yeah, your gun." He gives him his gun, revealing Lavox isn't the commander. All of our group are on the ground in fear as Ziltrumite soldiers surround our group. Dave looks pissed and says, You. Who the fuck are you?" He looks down at Dave and says, "You take their guns off of them." The soldiers disarm our group as he says, "You seem upset, Mr. Miller. I'll start with introducing myself. I'm Enzo, the commander of Ziltrumite." Kezia walks out, fully armored. Dave runs towards her as two soldiers hold him back. Enzo says, "Now there is the Dave Miller I fucking knew was in there all along. Dave says,
I saved you. I risked everything for you.
Enzo says, yeah, and you should have left me fucking dead in the caves. That would have been the better option. Dave says,
did you even get fucking shot?
He takes off a piece of his armor on the arm as he shows Dave and the rest. You'll see that? I got my guys to shoot me. Ashley says, did you even fucking have a family? Enzo says, this is my family. And family is about sacrifice. Ashley looks pissed and looks betrayed as Enzo tells them, I made sure you bought it all, right from the start. As we hear Enzo speaking, I had word that Kezia's friends were here. And if it's any indication on how me and Kezia Taylor first met, I knew what her friends were capable of. And when I received word that you got here, as we see Enzo sitting in his office, as we see Enzo's headquarters is the CN Tower. We see him writing stuff down as we hear a knock at the door. As he says, get the fuck in here. We see Arthur walks in as he says, we've got new arrivals, sir. Enzo says, and that's fucking important enough to disturb my lunch for? Arthur says, my apologies, sir. However, there is some kind of an interesting development. You see, these people happen to know Kezia Taylor rather well. They must have been where she came from, so I assume. My guess here is that these folks are previous friends of hers, so I thought you should know. Enzo then looks intrigued and says, where did you send them to? Arthur says, they're en route to be delivered to Alora's Ziltrumite station by the end of the day. Let's hope with all the terrible weather that they'll make it there just in time. Enzo says, you'll keep tabs on them for me. Arthur says, of course. Enzo says, now these people, you're sure Kezia knows them? Arthur says, I'm mighty positive of it, sir. And I wouldn't come to you and tell you this stuff at this time of day if I didn't think it was absolutely necessary. Enzo says, how's Levox doing? Arthur says, well, he's keeping his head down for now. He's going through a lot. Enzo says, yeah, and we've done a lot for him. It's time he shows us what he's capable of. Arthur says, what's the plan here, boss? Enzo says, well, I'm gonna fucking do what you always claim you do. Be their friend. I'm gonna build my fucking trust with them. Make it seem like I'm fucking into this shit. Like I wanna get the fuck out of here. We'll play a little game of cat and mouse. And then when the time is right, we will confront them. And we will tell them what it is. If they try to escape, and they take the opportunity to run, they will be punished. But if they decide to do the smart thing and stay, even when the opportunity presents itself, then we will welcome them in with open arms. And this operation will be cancelled. And I will tell them the truth to show them what we are capable of. Just like Kezia. We will have some welcome additions to Ziltrumite. And as we see, a big smile on Enzo's face. Enzo says, I played the part. But it had to be convincing. Earlier, during the attack, we see Enzo runs into a room as he says, when we climb down that building, I want you to shoot a few people, okay? You hit me and you hit me well. Make it look fucking real, you understand? The guy says, you got it, sir, but I can't shoot you. Enzo says, you will fucking shoot me, as I fucking instructed you to. The rest, you make sure they get out. You do not hit the rest. You hit a few and you miss the rest. Understood? The man says he understands. As Enzo then says, I will say, the pain is still horrible. But you all didn't leave me for dead out there. So you do have hope on your side for that one. You care about people, and I like that. That is exactly what this place thrives on. People. Dave looks pissed and says, so what is this all, one big fucking test? What is this place? A sanctuary? A safe haven? A trap? Or a fucking match made in fucking hell? Enzo says, well, I'm gonna make it simple for you, Mr. Miller. Ziltrumite is a place of order. I was a mafia don before the world started to break away from what it was. When I first arrived at Toronto, there wasn't a system in place, but I myself liked the system. And as long as I led properly, after I took this place, I went back to power, back to trade, partnership, and bringing people into the family. It has been quite a success, I must say so myself. Ziltrumite works on the same rules I had back in the Mafia. Once you're in, you're in. We do not let people leave for our safety, for the safety of our family. And most people, after seeing the hell that is outside this place, they do not want to go. But those that do, we give them a choice. And that is exactly what tonight is, Mr. Miller. A choice. Dave looks mad and says,
A choice? After everything you did to us, you were giving us a fucking choice?
Enzo says, Dave, stop getting upset. You're breaking my heart. Just like the time Chris Williams killed your family. Or like the time you lost your father. Dave says, How the fuck do you know about that? Enzo says, we must keep our information for ourselves too, Dave. Listen, Dave, there's two options here. You either join Ziltrumite, join us for all it's worth, and you'll have everything. From jobs, money, homes, new friends, electricity, power, hell, you name it. I don't know many people who would pass that up. Dave looks at our group and how tired and freezing and exhausted they all are. And Enzo says, Or option two. I give you the only mercy I have. Dave says,
What in the fuck is mercy to you?
Enzo then shoots Courtney in the head in front of Dan and her kid. Dan yells, No! Enzo says, Keep him down. As he looks at Dave and says, That there is a small look at the mercy I will give you and your people. And after what you've all been through, with losing Kingstonville, losing your wife, again, very tragic stuff. I'm assuming death isn't out of the question for you, Mr. Miller. Our group looks defeated. As Dave looks at Enzo, as he remembers finding Rose again, as he remembers the pact that he and Lincoln made to keep the family safe no matter what, as he looks at Enzo and says, We're not asking for mercy. We're staying. Enzo looks happy and says, Well, Mr. Miller, you just made the right choice on the count of your daughter. I am very, very happy with this decision. We are going to do great things together, my friend. Oh, but before we move forward, you did try to escape, and my men were hurt in the process. That cannot go unpunished. The men take Miles as Dave looks worried, and Miles says, It's alright. Ashley says, Let him go, please. Enzo says, Nah. Are you fucking slow or something? A guy like him? Oh, I am not putting that up to waste. As he points, that one. They grab Tegan as our group looks terrified, as Dave says, Hey, Enzo, please, you don't want to do this. You don't have to do this. I led my people here. I planned this whole thing. Me! Just me! Tegan looks at Dave with a small look of remorse as Dave looks upset, and Enzo says, That's really fucking touching, Mr. Miller. But that's not what I'm fucking here for. Dave says, Please don't, please. As we see, when it matters, he's even vouching for Tegan. As we then see, two men put her in front of a wood chipper as they start it up, as some of our people are trying to look away, as the soldiers force them to watch, as Enzo looks at her and says, Like you said, Mr. Miller, sacrifice some so the rest can live. As Enzo throws her in the wood chipper, as the blood goes everywhere, as everyone has no other choice but to watch her die. We see blood spraying all around the ground into the snow. We then see it pan up to see a bloody wood chipper. We then see across from it Miles covered in blood. As we then see next to him Matthew covered in blood. As we then see Dave is covered in blood. As he looks angry. As we then see a Ziltrumite soldier walks up to him. As he looks at the bloody ground. As he then looks up to this soldier and stares them down and says, You said you'd help us. As we see, the soldier is Kezia. As Dave stares her down and gives her a death stare. Enzo says, You're mine now. Everyone here is mine. And if you ever think of doing something funny, or anyone here for that matter, well, one of the soldiers takes Rose away and puts her in the back of the truck as she's saying, Daddy! Dave says, No! Please! Don't take her, please! Enzo says, Sit down or I will kill her right now. Dave sits down looking broken and says, What are you gonna do to her? Enzo says, Stay in line, all of you, and you'll never have to find out. Dave, I have not heard you say it back yet. What are you to me? Dave looks scared and says, We're yours. We're yours. Enzo smiles and says, Well, there you have it. I hope you're happy, Mr. Miller. You just bought yourself the rest of your life. And it gives me wonderful pleasure to say this to all of you. Welcome to Ziltrumite. As he walks away, as we see all of our characters getting taken separately and split up from each other as their life in Ziltrumite begins. Back in the Ziltrumite city, we see Kezia is shaking as she is sitting by the window, as she hears a knock at the door. She gets startled by this. As we see Benjamin says, Mom, there's someone at the door. Kezia says, I'll get it. She walks up to the door and opens it, as we then see Mr. Sunderland, as he says,
Oh boy, you had more of a backbone than I fucking thought. May I come in?
Kezia looks on edge and says, Benjamin, can you go in your room and clean up that mess for me, please? I'll be there in a few minutes. I just gotta talk to my friend here. Benjamin says, okay. He leaves as Mr. Sunderland walks into the kitchen, as he says,
So I heard. It may or may not have come down the grapevine that some inmates escaped last night. Ziltrumite News has been fucking blaring with that information. It's all people are talking about.
Kezia says, yeah, we're handling it. Mr. Sunderland says,
Huh, handling, huh? Listen, your son, or whatever he is to you, is here. So I'm not going to make this worse than it already is, but I heard about what happened.
Kezia says, oh, you did you? Mr. Sunderland says,
Yeah, I heard about what Enzo did. the wood chipper, the playing the inside man act, the murders, the kills, the fucking public executions. You see, the one thing I just can't seem to let go of, there's Tom, Rob, Blake and so many others. Did you do the right thing? Or did you just split a formidable group into two, and you know what that means, right? You let some of them go when they weren't looking, the rest Enzo was getting too close, so you backed out, and now you're sitting here wondering why you did it, and what will happen because you did it.
Kezia says, I'm not doing this with you, Sunderland. My son, and yes, he is my son, in all the ways that fucking matter. And how do I know that you're not reporting this to someone, huh? Is this all a ploy? A ploy to hurt me? Or my son? Mr. Sunderland says,
What kind of fucking monster do you think I am, Kezia? I'm asking you why you split this group apart, rather than helping everyone at once. You just made things worse for them and for yourself. These people are broken now, and you're going to be a constant target.
Kezia says, I did what I needed to do. And I did what I could. I tried everything to do good by the people that I care about. But if I went and did any more than what I already did, me and my son would be in danger, Mr. Sunderland says.
You're already living in danger, Kezia. What the fuck has this place done to you to make you unable to see this? Open your fucking eyes.
Kezia raises her voice and says, Don't tell me what I'm supposed to do. You gave me an ultimatum and I did what I could. You have no idea how far back this goes, do you? I mean, if I was to even explain it, you'd never understand. Christ, this shit goes back to before the dead were even fucking reanimating. This goes back to a life that I had, and a life that I lost, Mr. Sunderland says.
Then fucking make me understand! Because the more lies you tell, the more you hold back, the worse it's going to be for the people you and I care about.
Kezia says, Well, that's just it. I am doing this because of people I care about. Mr. Sunderland says,
You sure you don't have that backwards?
Kezia says, Get out of my house. Mr. Sunderland says,
Oh, you kidding? I mean...
He then sees her hand on her gun. We then hear, All done, Mom. Kezia says, Good job, Ben. I'll be there in a minute. Mr. Sunderland says,
One day, mark my words, you're gonna see the wrongs of what you did, Taylor. Just remember the mess you made.
He then walks out of the apartment as she stands there looking nervous as she takes her hands off the gun. The next day, we see Kezia riding inside of a Ziltrumite chopper, as we hear soldiers talking amongst themselves, as we hear the man up front says, Alright, we land. We spread out in pairs, find the remaining escapees, and we bring them back. Commander's orders, understood? Kezia and the rest say, Understood, sir! As they land the helicopter, as we see Kezia splits off with another soldier, as they go to find the rest of our group. Back with Tom and the others, we see the helicopter is on the ground, as they are all sitting down, as Rob says, The storm has finally passed. It's a rough night. Tom says, Yeah, it was. Rob says, We gotta move. We see they all start walking, as Tom says to Rob, What's the plan here, man? Rob says, Get somewhere safe for now. River says, Hey guys. We see she's looking at something from far, as she looks out to see a massive group of deadheads standing in a group down the hill across the river. As we see, the deadheads are frozen and they can't move. Tom says, Geez, well, that's different. River says, Good different though, right? Tom says, Yup. Now let's get moving before we startle them. But then we hear, On the ground! Now! Hands in the air! As Tom and the others turn around to see Kezia and the other soldier that split off standing there, as the soldier says, Officer Taylor, call this in. We're taking these people back. Tom says, Where's my daughter? Where is she?
Answer me!
Kezia looks conflicted as she says,
There's so much more going on than you know, Tom.
the soldier says, all right, come on, let's call it in. The soldier picks up his walkie-talkie, but then Kezia stabs him through the neck. As the blood goes everywhere, she kills the man as she stands there and says,
I have to check in. I have to check in exactly 2 minutes. There are soldiers all around looking for you. But if you go through that crowd of the dead down there and you make it through, I'll tell the soldiers that I saw nothing. I'll tell them that he died in the crowd of the dead. But you have to go now.
Tom looks angry and says,
Kezia, it's me. My daughter, my friends, and all what's left of my family are still in there.
Kezia says,
I know. I'm so sorry. But I can't.
Tom says, why the hell not? Kezia says,
Because Julia is valuable to our commander. He needs her. More than most.
Rivers says, for what exactly? Kezia says,
That's the thing. I don't know.
We hear her radio going off as we hear, Officer Taylor, report. She picks up her walkie and says, this is Officer Taylor, I read. We had a bit of a situation with the dead. Hill didn't make it. I'm coming back on my own, as we hear.
Copy that. Any sign of the escapees?
Kezia looks at Tom and the others, dead in the eyes, and says, nothing here. We need to push south, the guy says.
Copy that, Officer Taylor. Come back safely, please.
Kezia clicks off and says,
There's your chance. Take it.
Blake says, oh, we're more than grateful, right, Marissa? Marissa says, yeah, we are. Blake says, right. Everyone starts walking, but Tom and Rivers aren't moving an inch. And Kezia says,
They're coming. You've known me this long, Tom. We've been through everything together. I'm asking you to put your faith in me on this. I'm gonna figure out what they're doing. I'm gonna figure out the purpose of what Julia is being held for. And I'm gonna get her out. But you can't save her right now. You'll die, Tom. And she wouldn't want that for you. You know it. You go. And when the time is right, I will bring her to you. But you gotta trust me on this. Go. Now.
Tom looks angry as Rob says,
We gotta go, man. We gotta go.
Tom says to her,
I'm holding you to this.
Kezia says, you don't have to hold me to anything. And hey, I'm sorry about Lincoln. As she starts walking away, she says to herself,
I hope that was good enough for you, Mr. West.
As we see Rob, Tom, Rivers, and the others all fighting across the river, as we see them kill these frozen deadheads and flee from the area, as Kezia just saved them all. Six years later, we now see Kezia standing there, held at gunpoint, as she sees Benjamin tied to this chair. As we hear this man says, we may have a bit of a problem, Kezia Taylor. As the man steps out of the shadows, as we see, it's Enzo. He says, I'm sorry for intruding, especially at such a terrible time. I'm sure you're going through a lot after everything. Although this is exactly what I'm here to talk to you about. A little birdie told me that a bunch of my men in one of my trains was attacked the other day on account of your decisions, and Arthur's. Something like that happened in the very same spot where those escapees got away all those years ago. We never found them, and I found that awfully suspicious, especially since you were part of the group that was going to go save them. But I didn't think they'd have the guts to come back here. I also found it funny that the man you were out on patrol with, well, he never came back either. And those were your old friends after all, correct? Kezia says, yes, please. Just let... Enzo says, oh, relax. You need to stop fucking panicking and listen to me. You say you didn't do anything wrong, and you have done your job as I instructed for all these years, correct? Kezia says, yes, I only serve you. I never serve anyone else. I made that promise to you. Enzo says, well, promises can be broken. I truly hope for your sake that you are not involved in that wildly suspicious disappearance of those escaped convicts all those years ago. Because if it is them coming back for fucking revenge, or if I hear that you were involved in their disappearance of any kind, Captain Kezia Taylor, it takes one piece of evidence against you. I will cut your son's throat and make you watch as he bleeds out on the floor, and then after, I will make you clean his blood off of your own floor. Do you understand? Kezia says, yes. I have nothing to protect myself with. So yes, I understand completely. Completely understand. Enzo says, well, it was good doing business with you, huh? Get some rest. You look like you need it. He walks out as Kezia hugs Benjamin tight and says, are you okay? Benjamin says, I'm fine, Mom. I'm fine. I thought you were going to be honest with me. Kezia says, I am. You know that. Benjamin says, then what was he doing here? What did you do? Kezia looks like she wants to tell him as he waits for an answer. We see it's been a week. We see Tom, Rob, and the others look tired and hungry as they are walking through the woods, and as we can see, nobody is even talking, as they don't know what to say to each other. But then, Rob says, hey guys, come take a look at this. As they all stand over this hill to see the town of Halliburton, Tom says, this place has gone to shit. Rob says, so have we. But not anymore. Tom says, what? River says, what are you saying? Rob says, Ziltrumite. When I first arrived, I observed their every move. They are bad people, and they keep you there regardless if you want to stay or not. But one thing they did not do is seek other groups. They let the people come to them. Tom says, what's your point? Rob says, we can't keep running, but we also got to get our people out of there. But we can't do that without resources and a place to call home. Look at this place. It's got the river at the end, townhouses, office buildings. If we fix this place up, we could turn this into what was. He looks at Tom and says, you want to get her back? You all want to be back with your loved ones? This is where we start. We're going to take people in. We're going to make this place a place that everybody can go. A real place. Blake says, no offense, Rob, but that sounds like a rebellion to me. Rob says, oh yes. That's what we are. We are the rebellion. And we're going to make damn sure that those soldiers fucking know that. As we see Rob and the others find their future home. We see the Ziltrumite city light up at night as we see a man dressed in all black walking downtown. He stops on this little overpass to look out at the water. We then reveal it's Dave. He looks rather depressed and defeated as we see him walk across the overpass.
Is this about what happened?
Dave says, yeah, it is. Cause Enzo's why my people are fucking gone. And it's time to expose this place for what it really is. I'm gonna talk to some people. I'm gonna get ready. And I hope for your sake that you are as well when the time comes. It's time for Enzo to feel the wrath of what he did to my daughter.
He walks out of the bar. As Mr. Sunderland looks nervous, Mr. Sunderland says,
God forbid that Ziltrumite has to face the wrath of the broken man.
The next day, we see Ashley is waking up as she turns off her alarm, as she hears the shower running. We see her walk out into the kitchen, as she's living in a fancy house now. As we see someone says, "Hey babe," revealing her and Miles are a couple now. He kisses her and says, "Sorry I came home so late last night." Ashley says, "Oh, it's okay. I barely slept last night anyway. You hear what happened to one of the camps last night?" Miles says, "Yeah, I was supposed to be there, actually." Ashley looks worried and hugs him and says, "Oh, thank God. Why weren't you there?" Miles says, "Was helping someone. Was late. And I'm glad I was, because when I got there, I saw what was left. I saw what felt like a ghost town." Ashley says, "Well, I'm just glad you're..." Miles says, "Haley's alive." Ashley looks shocked and says, "Wait, what?" Miles says, "Yeah. I saw her last night. And it wasn't just her. Tom, Mr. Johnson, the rest, they all escaped together, and they were trying to take on Arthur last night." Ashley looks happy and says, Did you see Billy by chance?" Miles says, "Not from what I saw, but there's something going down. So I gotta get a hold of Dave. I need to know if we're truly doing this, if we're truly trying something." Ashley says, "I saw him a few months ago." Miles says, "How was he?" Ashley says, "He's lost his mind, Miles. He's drinking a lot. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's not well." Miles says, "I'll talk to him. He trusts me. Trust me, if anyone can talk to him, it's me. I'll handle this. But figured you should know." Ashley says, "So war, huh?" Miles says, Yeah, it looks like it." Later on, in the CN Tower, we see Arthur walks into an elevator. As we see, he still looks pretty beat up from the train fight. As he then gets into the top floor, as he knocks on Enzo's door. As we then hear, "Get the fuck in here." Arthur walks in and says, "All the soldiers are ready for go, boss. I must say that I'm mighty tickled that you allowed me to deal with this such a rebellion." Enzo says, "Just fucking get it done. Last thing we need is for more fucking trains and camps and soldiers to be affected by this. I want Halliburton handled by tonight. Oh, and also, I also want this fucking Haley West for myself. You find her, you keep her alive, you understand?" Arthur says, "Oh, trust me, sir. She's what you're looking for." Back in Halliburton, we see Rob playing guitar as he's strumming, but then he remembers something that happened in the past. As he then snaps out of it and keeps playing his guitar. We see Blake comes home as he says, "Hey." Marissa says, "You okay after the other day?" Blake says, "Oh, I'm fine. Just still hurts a little bit." Marissa says, "Well, lucky for you, you made it back safely." Blake says, "Yeah, well, because of Tom, they know where we are." Which makes us vulnerable. You understand that? I wish Rob wasn't so fucking stupid. We should have never took down that train. I knew we weren't ready. I knew it. I should have said something. Marissa says, "Blake, what are you saying?" Blake says, "I'm saying that Rob isn't cutting it anymore. I mean, he's put all of us at risk. I mean, look at this place. Everybody's scared now. Everybody's worried. They can't even sleep at night anymore. They can barely walk around town because they're worried they're going to get shot." Marissa says, "He's the leader." Well, we all voted for him as a group. Blake says, "Oh yeah, people all glaze Mr. Rockstar because he was famous back in the day. What a fucking joke." Marissa says, "Now, Blake, you're being a little ungrateful. He and that Miller guy got us out of that hellhole." Blake says, "Is it hell though? I mean, if we had just done our part, if we had just risen up in the ranks, maybe we could have had everything in Ziltrumite. Maybe we could have had it all. You ever think about that?" Marissa says, "We left because you thought we were doing the right thing." Blake says, "Well, I'm starting to think I got it all wrong. I saw that the other night. So maybe it's time for things to change." We see Haley at the front gate getting on her bike as Rob walks up to her and says, "Burning some oil, Mrs. West." Haley says, "Gonna take a ride out, making sure we're not being watched. Wanna come?" Rob says, "Hell yeah," as we see them ride out together.
You're still with me in the shadows, like a phantom always on my mind. And I would save you from the gallows, but I know it's you I'll have to fight. We can either die.
Back with Arthur, we see he and dozens of Ziltrumite soldiers on a train on their way to Halliburton. As Arthur is sipping a drink and says, "Well, boys, here we go. It is mighty time for us to have full extortion." As we see Ashley walking the streets of Ziltrumite as she now looks torn on what to do next. We see Enzo standing outside of the Ziltrumite CN Tower as he looks out to the sky and looks happy and confident. We then see Haley stops her bike as Rob says, "Why'd we stop?" Haley says, "Shh, you hear that?" They sit on their bike a sec as they see from far.
Action or fall. And my will cannot be broken. When we meet again, then just as close. That's how our story goes.
The Ziltrumite train heading in their direction. Haley says, "Shit, we gotta call it in." Rob says, "Yeah, they could be heading for home." But then we hear a gun click as we see Jacin as he stands there with multiple other soldiers and says, "Time to go for a little ride, Mrs. West. We have been searching for you, ma belle chérie." As they knock both of them out. as we see Dave walking over the Ziltrumite bridge, as he stands there and puts his arms out, as he looks out to the night sky and says,
Lord, I hope in advance you forgive me for what I'm gonna do here. This isn't their world anymore.
we see the other side of the train, as we see some civilians riding in the back of the train, as we see a man that says,
Oh, I hope we're there soon. Hey, is it possible for me to meet the conductor of the train?
the attendant says, Sure, sir, I'll get him for you. As a few minutes pass by, we see a man walks up to them as the conductor of the train says,
Sir, you wanted to see me?
The guy says, Yeah, I don't mean to be a pest. It's just, how much longer till our destination? Also, do you happen to have any salted crackers? As we see, the conductor of this train is Matthew, as he says,
Of course, sir. Conductor Matthew, pleasure to meet you. We'll be arriving at our destination within the hour. Oh, and forgot to tell you, welcome to Ziltrumite.